Hello, my name is Shamar Smith, and I am doing my video tutorial on how to use microfilm. I chose microfilm because I think it is an undervalued piece of technology within libraries, and is also a technology that doesn't always go noticed within libraries as well, in both staff and patrons. A lot of the people that are coming to use microfilm have never used microfilm before. There are a lot of young people or young students that are coming in, and then we also have quite a few patrons that are more mature in their age and they haven't used it in a long time, and so they just really need a refresher. And so I find that this tutorial is going to be a great way in just providing not only the librarian with a refresher, but also providing a first time step for new patrons and then a refresher for more mature patrons who are just wanting to get through it and understand how to get started quite quickly as much as possible. And so the first couple steps that I have for this is just coming into the library. Coming into the library seems like a really simple and easy thing for this, but unfortunately quite a few people don't understand that you can't always go to the news agency or to one of the annexes, which most people think that microfilm is held, which it is, but unfortunately you have to pay a fee for them or you have to have special authorization. Whereas if you go to the library, they're always going to have a copy of it, or they might have a vast, bigger collection or selection from which they can choose from for looking for information, and more guaranteed to actually get what they're looking for without worry. So that's the first step. And then the next after that would be identifying the search. Again, this is more common practice. This is just talking with your patrons and making sure that they have the correct article information by their title or its author, and then also just making sure that they're looking for the correct film. Sometimes they might be looking for something completely different than what they actually came in thinking that they looked for after you speak with them for a while. So just identifying the correct search will help with narrowing down the process of looking for the correct microfilm and getting them a step closer to using the machine. The step after that would be going to the correct location. Again, this seems like something very simple, but unfortunately quite a few people are misunderstood that microfilm has to be kept sometimes separate from microfilm reader. And that's because microfilm is a condensed film reel, which contains lots of articles and data and things like that nature, but it's also quite flammable. And because it's a film, it has to be kept in a cool and sometimes dark area, and that may not always be next to a microfilm reader. It might be just in the next area over, or it might be just in the next room. It just depends on your library's setup of it. And so that's a good way to always just make sure that when you're working with your patron, make sure they know they have to first go over here and then go over to this section in order to use the actual reader. And so the next step after that is finding the right one. Finding the right one is actually finding the correct microfilm. Microfilm is such a utilized material within libraries. It lasts up to 500 years. And because of this, and because of its compression of materials and how it's so easy to store, most libraries have a vast collection or quite a large collection of microfilm. And they're not always labeled by the correct collection number. They might have a call number that matches with a different series number and then goes into a box number. So it might be a little bit tricky, but sometimes it's best to actually go with the patron and make sure that they're looking by the correct number, so they're not looking for a call number and not understanding that there might be a lowercase that's actually the difference between the correct film and the wrong film. Okay? And so the next step after that would be fitting the film. Fitting the film is going over to the film reader once you have the correct film and placing it into the reel slot. There's a little reel that's sometimes blue. You just take your film out of the box, you take the end piece and you place it through the feeder, and it goes through the piece of glass that's right underneath the machine. Once you're sitting right in front of the machine, you just slip it through and make sure that the end piece matches the next set and goes right through. It turns automatically on its own. There's a button that's usually up and down, or it goes forward and backwards. It just depends on how it's labeled within your library. And once that's established, the very final step is actually reading microfilm. It's not a hard process, it's just a few steps, but once you get through it, you'll understand how simple and easy it truly is. Once you put the microfilm through the film reader, like I said, you just slip it through the end piece. The microfilm will come up onto your computer screen, and you're able to adjust it and change the lens size to make it become more clear onto the computer monitor. Once you have it to the clarity that you want in the correct documents and all the page numbers that you want, depending again on your computer's setup, most computer setups, you'll just go to file set and you'll just click and enter in the number amount of pages from that film that you want and then hit print. And once you have that, you just print them out and you just go and print them to your regular card print that's at your library and you're good to go. But again, like I said, microfilm reader is not a hard process. It's something that might be a little intimidating because it's not a used technology on constant. However, it is something that will never go away. It is something that is going to always be with us as it's useful for people who are wanting to look up information on more older information that may not always be prevalent in print documents. So I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any other questions for learning about microfilm, please feel free to look at my storyboard as it gives a more detailed and more picturesque version of this as well. Alright? Have a nice day.